everyone, welcome back to Special Interest with Bob and Donna, Bob Banfelder and Donna Durasmo. We welcome you again and thank you for tuning in to our channel. Today we're going to be discussing some very interesting things, but before we do that, for those of you who are new to our channel, my name is Donna Durasmo and I'm a retired educator with the New York City Board of Education. I taught there for 32 years. Miss the kids. Bob is an award-winning crime thriller novelist and an outdoors writer. He's a member of the Outdoor Writers Association of America, the New York State Outdoor Writers Association, and he is a recipient of the Lifetime Achievement Award for his fiction and his nonfiction from Who's Who in America. So we're very proud of that.
Oh, thank you for that nice introduction.
Okay.
How many times have you done this?
Oh, a lot of times. From people who know our channel. Well, anyway, our channel is a very unique one. It's very eclectic. We cover a lot of topics because we get into a lot of different
we get
areas.
into a lot of trouble.
Oh, no, not trouble, but a lot of different things. Just as you do out there, you have many facets to your life, and so do we. So we kind of put everything together, and hopefully you'll enjoy. So we are about exactly a week away from Election Day 2020. And the election, of course, is on everybody's mind. And as a matter of fact, I think, what is it, it's about 60 million, 50 million people have already voted because we have early voting so that we can facilitate people coming in and not being too crowded because of the coronavirus that we're experiencing right now. So Bob recently, a couple of days ago I think, posted a piece on Facebook, and wonderfully, I think, people became engaged in the conversation.
Oh, sure.
And it was very, very interesting and very enlightening, and that's a good thing when people can discuss different things without getting too upset.
Agree to disagree.
We agree to disagree. So I'm going to leave it to Bob because he is the author of the piece, and he's going to share with you different perspectives that we have received, and of course his perspective on the situation. So
Okay, thank you.
I give you the floor.
Okay.
Or the couch.
All right. Well, the title, this is entitled, What the 2020 Presidential Election Ultimately Boils Down to. We could talk about all facets of this election, but I synthesized it, and I feel that this is really what it boils down to. And I'll read from this, and you'll hear some arguments from, well, maybe we'll just deal with one or two people here. We'll see. But anyways, I begin with, in a nutshell, the 2020 presidential election ultimately boils down to capitalism versus socialism. Those folks who are going to vote for Joe Biden vigorously argue that it is not socialism per se, but rather a democratic form of socialism. To this I respond that the concept is akin to believing that one is simply a little bit pregnant. The facts are that socialism, democratic socialism, fascism, and communism are complex concepts entwined in economics and government. In other words, who owns and controls what? To cut to the quick, socialism does not work in the long run. India, Israel, and the United Kingdom have tried and rejected socialism. I love Martha Thatcher's... Martha, thank you. I love Margaret Thatcher's remark. The problem with socialism is that you eventually run out of other people's money. Clever remark. But then, conversely, then it is argued by the liberal left that socialism does work in Nordic countries such as Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, which brings me back to my earlier point concerning complex concepts entwined in economics and government stated in the first paragraph. These Nordic countries are indeed economically prosperous. However, they are not specifically socialist, for they embrace free markets. Free market practices coupled to high taxes in order to pay, ostensibly, for these magnanimous social benefits. So-called democratic socialism under the Biden-Harris administration is purely a euphemism for socialism, period. You'll hear arguments, we're going to be fair here, you'll hear arguments pro and con here. Socialism will erode our civil liberties and curtail capitalism, the lifeblood of a vibrant economy. Simply put, if you take away one's incentive to work hard, it will result in reduced efficiency and produce inferior productivity. Conversely, if you reward ingenuity and innovation, you maximize economic growth and prosperity. Under a Trump-Pence administration, the country has already seen unparalleled economic growth. Under a liberal agenda, you have already witnessed chaos in the streets across the country. Defunding the police is a pathway to disaster. If you haven't already voted, you can direct the course of the country for the better if you vote for Trump-Pence come November 3rd. If you cast a ballot for Biden-Harris, you surely direct the course. You can surely direct the course of the country toward disaster. Again, it all boils down to whether you want a socialistic regime or a government truly for the people. And then I have my credentials at the end of this, which Donna gave you a few of them. And now we're going to hear from
some people. Which will remain nameless. Okay, now I've written this book called The Essential Guide to Writing Well and Getting Published. And in it, I teach people how to argue on paper when you're not going to there's nobody there to really challenge you at that moment. But if I was in a debate, I would handle it a different way, and you'll see what I mean by that. Hopefully we'll get to that. But anyways, let's hear one of the responses. We've had 17 agree with my thesis, proposition here, and we had 7 disagree. That's an interesting barometer. And these are from people who know us, people who don't know us, and it doesn't mean that I won any kind of an argument here or a debate. There's
you out there listening to this, oh boy, if I got an argument that I could, posit here against Bob Banfelder, or I have an argument that would further support Bob Banfelder's thesis here. So, keeping in mind what I had just said, let's hear from,
Someone.
I can mention a name because he went out on Facebook.
Someone,
No?
no.
No? The boss
No.
says no. You know who the boss
No.
is now.
He wants to remain anonymous.
Well, why did he put his name out there on Facebook?
It's only certain people, it's not the world.
Okay, all right. It really doesn't matter. But what I did was, I didn't take one of the weaker arguments that was presented. I took not a tougher, I took the toughest arguments. Why? Because I want to challenge, and I want to be, if I can take the toughest argument and convince you that I'm right, then I've accomplished something here. But let's see. You'll be the judge of that.
Okay, this is the response.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your perspective here, Bob. I also don't believe the notion that we're in an all or nothing situation. Socialism, in the stark way you describe it, will never appear in this country. We will never be an Argentina, for example. Social programs within a democracy are an entirely different matter. While we're still here 85 years after the birth of Social Security, and I'm grateful every day for my medical benefits. The country hasn't imploded. The present government, as it stands at this moment, is not functional. Trump has been ineffective, and his appointments of former industry executives and former lobbyists to key positions is rife with opportunities for corruption. I think Biden is going to win, but not necessarily because he's Mr. Popularity. There is simply exhaustion at the bullying, blustering, nepotism, lies, and self-aggrandizement that Trump can't resist spewing. So, I have a response to that. In response to so-and-so's comments, read my opinion piece titled, What the 2020 Presidential Election Ultimately Boils Down to. Socialism, in the stark way you describe it, will never appear in this country. Quote, unquote, I respond with. Okay to say, but now I have to support that. Let me
Well, you have to argue his statement.
Well, and in so doing, I'm supporting my
Yours,
thesis. Let me explain how socialism will indeed appear before your very eyes and in short order if Joe Biden is elected. Although so-called moderate Joe will tell you that it is too early to entertain who will be considered to cabinet positions if he is elected president, I will apprise you ahead of time. Bernie Sanders will likely be appointed as Secretary of Labor.
Yeah, he's lobbying for that. He wants that at this point.
Absolutely. Though I won't venture to say what cabinet positions the following 5 women will hold, I will hazard a guess, with the emphasis on the word hazard, being a little cute here, that they will undoubtedly become part and parcel to the Joe Biden / Kamala Harris administration. And those women are Elizabeth Warren, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Ocasio-Cortez.
Easy for me to say, AOC, and I put it in parentheses
I love
here.
the Spanish language. Go ahead.
Ilham Omar,
Ilham Omar.
ILHAM.
Ilham Omar.
Forget my pronunciation here, and you can do
Ayanna Pressley.
Ayanna Pressley,
And
and that's Ayana Presley,
And Rashida Tlaib.
and that's Rashida, Rashida
Tlaib.
Tlaib, Talib. With the exception of Warren, it's Elizabeth Warren, the latter group is referred to as, many of us know this, AOC plus 3. If this likely scenario transpires, it will be socialism personified, and not what some folks view as democratic socialism. So, I got a response from that from the same person. Oh, but I have to continue with this here. I didn't finish my statement here, so bear with me.
Next, he states.
Next, the person states, we will never be an Argentina, for example. Perhaps a better example might have been Venezuela, I say. But being a banking debacle, referring to the former or pure unadulterated socialism, the latter, socialism is in and of itself and does not bode well in this country, in the countries who have both tried and rejected it, as I mentioned a moment ago, and as I pointed out in this opinion piece. Also, I pointed out the economical, prosperous Nordic countries, as well as those folks who espouse socialism in that general context, are not specifically socialist, but they embrace free market practices coupled to high taxes in order to pay for ostensibly magnanimous social benefits. In other words, you pay to play and reap social advantages. 2, I had expanded on the complex concepts entwined in economics and government. Finally, the person concludes with an assortment of phrases such as, the present government as it stands at this moment is not functional. Trump has been ineffective.
He also points out.
He also points out that the corruption as it relates to Trump's appointment of former industry executives and others. Really? Corruption? And so I counter with what many of us know what's going on with this corruption issue. Joe Biden and his son, Hunter Biden, are the epitome of corruption. And yes, the hard drive and tape messages thereof viably, and yes, that's a word, verifiably belong to Hunter Biden. However, the mainstream media has metaphorically shrouded the facts with an iron curtain. Be reminded that iron is heavy. Wait till that curtain comes crashing down upon their heads. Finally, I conclude with, it's become somewhat of a cliche, but right on point. President Donald J. Trump has accomplished more in 47 months than Joe Biden has in 47 years. Trump will go down as one of our greatest presidents. And now what I'm going to do, just before I get into the response to that, I spent a little time researching here, so I make the statement, more in 47 months than Trump has done in 47 years. I looked at over 100 accomplishments that Donald Trump has made since coming into the presidency. Over 100 acknowledgments. I could list them, but Donna's going to put it up in your leisure. You can you can review these.
I'll put the website in the description below.
But just
for you.
quickly, what I'll do here, Donna, I'll just jump at some of the things that jump off the page. The Israel, the UAE agreement, relationships that are going on. The VA regarding women's benefits, especially in terms of oncology and let's see what else here. The VA in terms of males, so he's done a lot of interesting things for the women in the VA as well as the male population.
Well, you can go
here.
on and on and
I could
on.
go on and on. I could go on to Homeland Security. I already briefly spoke about Mideast relationships. He put together 1 trillion trees program, raising healthy forests, sanitation, hygiene, homelessness, sanctions Ray the arms deal with Iran. Sanctions, important word here. Defense manufacturing, Executive Order 13224, fighting against terrorism, job growth, transportation, U.S., Mexico, Canada, trade deal agreements, and on and on and on. It's a very accurate statement to say that Trump has accomplished more in 47 months than Biden has in 47 years. Okay, so now, in all fairness, we have to jump to the response. I got my AC there from the gentleman, the same gentleman now. He says, none of this alters the facts. In other words, everything that I went through a moment ago. He is a con man who experienced multiple bankruptcies of his own making. He's a multiple philanderer. He told over 200,000 lies.
20,000.
20,000
Don't
lies.
change the numbers like Biden does.
But what I'm saying, I mean, I'd like to see the count. Who counted this up?
Probably got it off CNN.
Okay. He's a self-aggrandizing bully, and I believe, in the end, a coward. Most bullies are. The nepotism is scandalous. I could go on and on. And so in response to that, I say, what I agree with is that Trump is a womanizer, a philanderer, as he had stated. Referencing your nepotism comment, let's put that argument up against quid pro quo Joe Biden's abuse of vice presidential power in order to strong-arm the Ukraine government to turn a blind eye involving...
Blind eye.
What did I say?
Blonde.
A blind eye. I need new glasses. Turn a blind eye involving the Hunter Biden scandal. Additionally, using Joe's son as a conduit to sell access to the then VP, Joe, and to employ Hunter as a bagman to funnel monies, millions of dollars, among the Biden family. So that's where we ended that with one person. Now, what I did here, as I mentioned ago, I took the strongest arguments against what I'm stating here. And let's just take a look quickly. Page 107 here I gotta go to. Okay. In arguing, in the classroom, I teach the students how to argue. In the beginning, very basically, very simply, with a three-step model. In other words, a three-step model, meaning a three-paragraph model. And in that first paragraph, what you do is you present the thesis like I did in this argument, socialism versus capitalism, okay? So you go to your first paragraph, the thesis, and in your second paragraph, maybe you could come up in your head immediately, or maybe you have to research it. You come up with an argument, a fair argument. That's not good enough. What you want to do is select your best argument to bolster your thesis statement in the first paragraph. Okay? So you're looking for a good argument. And then in your third paragraph you conclude, and students generally are under misconception of what a conclusion is. A conclusion links back to your first paragraph. In other words, you say the same thing you said in the first paragraph, only you say it, state it in different words. That's how you conclude. You're telling the people what you're going to tell them, you tell them, and then you tell them what you told them. Simple, three-step model. Then, as we get into the semester, I teach them a five-step model. And it's basically, it starts out the same. You have your first paragraph thesis. You have your second paragraph with that good argument that we talked about. In your third paragraph, you come up with a better argument. And in your fourth paragraph, you save your best for last. You come up with your best argument. So, going back to the second paragraph again, if you had a fair argument, you throw it out. You want a good argument. You don't want your best argument put forward. I ask in a classroom, so what should go first? Should it be good, better, best? Oh, best. And then I say, no, absolutely not. And think why, and then a hand will shoot up because you've already given away your best, and the rest of it is weakened. So you don't want to do that. You want to build good, better, best, conclude back to the first paragraph thesis.
It's like having a meal in a restaurant. The food is so-so, but the dessert is to die for. Right?
Okay, that's an interesting analogy. Good, Donna. Okay, and then quickly, I teach them, and I tell them this, listen, we're going into a five-step sophisticated model. But that doesn't mean because you can handle the sophisticated model that you'll get the A where someone else, if they come up with a good five-step model, will get a B. No, if you can present a good five-step model, doesn't necessarily have to be the sophisticated one. This is for those students in the class who want that challenge, more of a challenge. And it goes like this again. Again, it's basically the same starting out. You have your first paragraph, your thesis. Your second paragraph, you have a good argument. But in the third paragraph, you become something of a wise guy on paper. Won't work in a debate, but it will work on paper. And that is, in the third paragraph, you rip, what I call rip the opposition. In other words, you take an argument that the other side has, and you present it and rip it apart. But here's where you can be a wise guy, which I didn't do here. I would take a weak argument that the other side has because it will be easy to rip apart. It will be easy to destroy. But I would never get away with it if I was in a debate, say with this fellow here, because he would be presenting his best arguments, which I would have to counter. So, third paragraph. Now in the fourth paragraph, again, we save our best for last. You will present the best argument. And then in the fifth paragraph, no differently than the other two models, you will refer back to your thesis, your theme, your intelligent proposition.
In the first paragraph.
In the first paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You just brought me back to college days. I feel like I'm in a classroom here.
Oh, well, it's been years since I taught, but I love teaching, I really did, and I made a significant dent. So, what I'm trying to accomplish, I have an objective in doing what I did here. If there's one of you sitting on the fence regarding this election, Trump, Biden, In other words, you're undecided, and I've helped you reach a decision, let me know. And I will be thrilled. I will have accomplished what I wanted to do. Just one person. If I change one person's thinking, oh, I'm voting for Biden. But if I changed your thinking, and after what you've heard here, you'll change and vote for Donald Trump, well, again, let me know. If I've changed one person's thinking regarding someone sitting on a fence or changing their thinking 180 degrees, I've accomplished what I want to do here. Donna, you want to add to this?
No, I'll just tell the folks that the link for Donald Trump's accomplishments, his administration.
You'll put that
I'll put
up
that
there.
in the description
Yeah.
down below. And we welcome your comments, pro or con. That'll be fine. The important thing is that we engage conversation, and we talk about things. Statistically, elections are not very well. I shouldn't say very well. They're not typically. They don't typically have a majority of the Americans voting, either state-wise, local, or
That's
or
been
of
changed.
course, and that's changed in this election, which I think is a good thing.
Of course, of
It's
course.
a very good thing. So that's about it, folks. We thank you for watching Special Interest
Thank you
with
very
Bob and
much.
Donna, and have a wonderful day and stay well.
One of my important shows. Thank you. Our important shows. Okay?